Hi, Timmy.
You having a nice laugh, are you?
I mean, it's Christmas. It's Christmas morning.
Hey!
I love the way it makes me feel inside.
What's up, everyone? Adam from FWCI. This is Mr. McMahon, episode 6, The Finish. A tragedy draws attention to wrestling injuries. Yeah, okay, we know what that is. WWE refocuses on safety and expansion. Vince retires abruptly after unsettling allegations emerge. He retired abruptly. Was that because of Yeah, it was. It was. There was some kind of unpleasantness starting to be discussed, and then he resigned, and then he came back. And then he resigned again. The tragedy they're talking about here is obviously the Benoit situation. WWE refocuses on safety and expansion. So yeah, that's the concussion protocol and the drug testing that they do now. So we'll see what's in this one here. Like I say, some of these episodes have really just been a lesson in wrestling history. So I cut out quite a bit, but I'm guessing that they're going to save everything for the final episode. The Finish, as it's called. Let's jump into it.
There's an element going on with me thinking something completely different. And it's bothered me through the years because all I wanted to be was just normal.
Yeah, you have ADD, Vince. That's what that is.
Be different and, the expression of fuck the world. So that's where I am now.
Yeah.
What's the other brain thinking about now?
It's involving sex.
Oh my god, are you kidding me? So Vince McMahon is thinking about fucking the dude who's interviewing him? That's what I'm taking from it. That's my interpretation. But yeah, Vince, you've got ADD, and that makes a lot of sense that he would have ADD, because when he's managing this gigantic organization like WWE, you don't need a long attention span to be like, I'm going to deal with this, then I'm going to deal with this, then I'm going to deal with this, then we're going to deal with promos, then I'm going to talk to someone about camera angles, then I'm going to talk to someone about, blah, 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 or whatever. And it's, you don't have to dedicate to one thing, but everything kind of has one goal. So I definitely see how Vince having ADD, which is just my diagnosis of him, would have been pivotal in how he managed to run WWE for all these years.
For the Battle of the Billionaires, hair versus hair match.
Money, 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 money.
Here comes the money, man. Look at that man right there, Donald Trump.
So many celebrities come in.
I wanted to see Trump get his head shaved so bad during that match. I was like, yeah, Vince would be great, but I'd love to see Trump lose that, whatever the hell it is.
The Donald Trump-Vince McMahon Battle of the Billionaires feud, it was the biggest pay-per-view audience in the history of pro wrestling pay-per-view.
Damn, for real?
To me, they look like a very smart group of people.
He was kind of perfect for the role.
Yeah, because that's how he communicates. He is still cutting wrestling promos to this day.
Donald Trump's sensibility and public persona is much closer to that of a wrestler
Costas
than to a statesman.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
So many things in the world. Politics, absolutely, my God. Why wouldn't you want to be like WWE?
Because you're supposed to be doing the greater good for your constituents. You fuck.
Pro-wrestlingification of American politics and American society.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who thought that the moment he started debating with Hillary Clinton, even.
Man, we elected a president that was playing a pro wrestler on TV.
Agreed.
I see similarities between Trump and Vince McMahon.
Yeah, we all do. 100%.
And they made this long walk backstage, passing all the talents, and then got into his limo.
Yeah, this was the weirdest storyline ever.
The edit was perfect.
Yeah, I will give you that. It was a good edit.
From what I've heard, Donald Trump called up Vince's office to make sure Vince was
Vince, I just want to make sure that you're recovering okay after your limousine explosion. It's Donald. Call me back.
Cause he fucking rang out. I just want to make sure you're okay, brother. Probably Hulk Hogan was speaking to Trump before that, and he's like, oh man, I don't know about Vince. I don't know if he's going to pull through on this one, dude.
Tonight's storyline was to have been the alleged demise of my character, Mr. McMahon.
So, in Australia, at the time, we were getting Raw not just like on a different time zone. We were getting it like 2 days later. I think it was 1 day later. So normally Raw would air here at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. We would get it at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday, and then at 3 o'clock on a Wednesday as well, when this was going on in 07 or whatever. By the time this had aired in the States, and then they found out what actually happened with the Benoit family, when it came time to air in Australia, it was just a random clip show of WrestleMania matches from like earlier that year, I believe is what it was. There was no episode of Raw, there was nothing, but we did get the McMahon, the little message that he did at the beginning where he's like, we found out that blah, 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 blah. I'm sure you'll see it, but we had that random clip show, and then Raw resumed at normal the next week. So that's how crazy that Benoit thing was. Like, they literally, by the time they were going to air this episode of Raw in Australia, they'd already backflipped and had to like erase it from history. It was nuts.
When a wrestler passes away, Raw the next night would become like a tribute to that individual.
Yeah, I followed this Benoit situation very, very closely, and there was a lot of misinformation and conspiracy theories and insane, suggestions going on out there while it was all happening. But the one consistent message that everybody who was interviewed had was, I would have never expected this particular person to do this particular thing. He loved his family. He was completely dedicated. He lived for them, da-da-da. Maybe too much, I guess, is maybe the lesson to take from that. But I think when you look at the tragedy that happened with Nancy and Daniel, it seems uncharacteristic for Chris to do that, which means he must have had a complete full-blown mental snap. But I just wanted to talk about that. I don't get the chance to talk about wrestling on the channel that much, and that was something that I followed along with quite a bit. And yeah, it's an absolute tragedy. And contrary to what Hulk Hogan says, we haven't forgiven Chris Benoit for that.
While that show was airing, we started to get the details of what had actually happened and what Chris had done.
There is new information tonight.
So they found out while it was airing. Oof.
They were just pinning this whole thing on steroids. All I know is like steroids generally don't make you kill your whole family and do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, especially not over a 3-day period.
Chris went nuts. It happens in every form of life and everything. So
okay, I don't know if I'd quite describe it that way, Vince.
Got it. Hold on. And got it.
Oh, hello, Chris Nowitzki. What are you doing here?
Was first a fan.
I know exactly what he's doing here.
But about a year later, I got a concussion that ended my career.
That is an ugly, ugly injury.
CTE is chronic traumatic encephalopathy. It's a degenerative brain disease caused by repetitive hits to the head.
Yeah, and Benoit's style was exclusively getting hit in the head.
there was no way of telling this man was a monster.
He framed it as we didn't know what kind of monster Chris was. And I thought that it was the disease that was the monster, it wasn't Chris.
Yeah, that's a pretty rough way to put it there, Vince. I don't know if that's out of context or not, but yeah, it's pretty tasteless to just throw all of the blame on the deceased.
Things were shown where Chris would dive off the rope and hit someone with his head.
Benoit using his own head like a weapon.
That's complete work.
Yeah, you know what? It usually is. Chris Benoit was a different animal. He would bust himself open hard way doing that diving headbutt. I've seen times where he's had like stitches in his head and then he busted out. Although maybe it's wrestling trickery, you don't know. But Chris Benoit certainly did not... Of all people, I don't think you can look at Chris Benoit's style and be like, well, you know, it's all just choreography, you know? He took it pretty serious.
We know what we're doing. We don't hurt each other.
His head bounced off that man like a basketball.
I worked for a long time. I got dropped on my head one time. I got concussed there.
That's not a concussion, Steve. That's a broken neck. I mean, well, not Steve. Filmmakers. Okay, this is pretty fucked here that they're showing Austin after getting his neck broken and talking about concussions. There's a lot of actual concussion footage out there. Why not use that?
I'm not a CTE guy. Just don't believe in it.
Okay. I mean, science believes in it, Steve. What is this?
The NFL's fought us on this. The NHL is still fighting us.
Oh, that was a rough hit.
If you can come up with research that's honest, because we would like to know more about it ourselves.
And that was the beginning of a wholesale change in their approach to this.
All right. Well done, and so they should.
There were a couple of in-ring moves that we stopped doing.
Yeah, chair shots to the head for one.
How are you going to take away the chair shot? It's a staple of our industry.
Because Chris Benoit murdered his family, that's why.
The company is a publicly traded company now. When you're trying to market yourself to larger...
I think it's more about not giving everybody brain scramblies, to be honest.
Do you think the motivation is a care for wrestlers, or is it?
Yeah, I don't think it is.
I couldn't tell you what the biggest motivation is, but it's an acknowledgement that it's better for wrestlers and it's good for business, right? And that's what's most important, is that all the interests align and they're doing the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel for you, Nowitzki.
And many don't make it past their 40th birthdays.
Wrestlers were dying young, and it was very often a combination of drugs and steroids.
Yeah, and a lot of living in the 80s and 90s probably didn't help.
The fans knew these guys would die. They didn't care. Or they didn't seem to care. Give us the next guy.
Oh, alright, Mushnick. That's a little bit unfair to say that wrestling fans don't care about the families and stuff like that. Was it Brody Lee passed away some years ago, and his son and wife have been embraced by the wrestling fan community. That's one example, and I get what he's saying. On the surface it probably looks that way, but people don't go to wrestling to mourn and have like memories of like, oh, I remember that person who died last week and da-da-da. Wrestling's a narrative storyline show, so Mushnick get a little bit mushnicky in that one.
I would accept no responsibility whatsoever for their untimely deaths, none whatsoever. As far as, and you've got that little look on your face like, geez, Vince, how can you possibly...
Yeah, I don't know if you can say that though, Vince. Like, for better or worse, the fortune that you have was built on the backs of these men. And a lot of them, under your watch, while employed by you, were on steroids, were taking cocaine, were working these impossible schedules, and that stuff takes its toll. Not paying people when, you know, they get injured and stuff like that, as we've discussed in all the others. Some of that falls on your shoulders. Is it completely your responsibility? No, everybody has their own individual choices, and that's true. But there's got to be a degree of accountability and at least some sort of capacity to say, and we're learning from, you know, the lifestyles that we saw these guys live in the 80s and 90s, we're learning from that, and we don't encourage our talent to do it or something. There's so many better ways to deal with this. You don't have to smack the guy's paper out of his hand, Vince.
They live this lifestyle.
There you go.
You know, they use these prescription drugs as recreation.
They're addicted to painkillers because they are in constant pain. You might say that's recreational, but come on.
The amazing undefeated streak continues.
Oh, are we going to talk about how Vince made the call for the streak to end? Because that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen happen in a long time on wrestling.
I think we're going to put Brock over tonight.
Ugh. Why? Why? Is he the only one who could end the streak physically, like whatever, I guess? But, I don't know. Did it need to end? I don't think it did.
Could have happened, but I think Mark just didn't remember any of that because it was so traumatic for him.
Okay, Vince. He also looked like he was absolutely demolished.
Even after I got hurt, I didn't think about getting hurt. Only thing you think about?
Oh, this is absolutely... Oh, God.
On the other hand, this next generation of wrestlers, I do not want to see them in the same situation as a bunch of the guys that came before them.
Exactly, and that's all they have to say about it. Yeah, things were great then, but a lot of people had the end of their life was miserable because of it.
In terms of we're heading towards the TVPG era.
Yeah, God, this was rough. Let's have a quick look at this graph here. So what, 05, wow, things were really down in like 03. 05, 10, a little bit of a spike in 2014. What was that? The Shield, I think. That was, yeah, when the Shield debuted. And then the stock started going nuts when Fox and USA started paying these like billion-dollar things, and all the Saudi money started coming in as well. Holy shit, business really is. And that dip there is probably COVID-related. Damn. They're actually in pretty good fucking shape.
All those things that led WWE to be your special secret guilty pleasure now was being taken away, and that left a bad taste in people's mouths.
I do what's right for each and every one of you from a business perspective, long-term.
So just on what Gowitz said there, I don't think things have to be like swearing and blood and tits and stuff like that to be entertaining, but I do think that WWE way overcorrected and went way too far in the other direction.
So they toned down.
This is a Divas Tag Team match.
The timing of the women's evolution coincided with the PG era shift. The
came a little bit later than that.
Paul Levesque, Triple H, was getting more and more influence on the creative side, helping Vince, kind of like number two.
And where was Shane at that point?
Yeah, he was not around. He was in China making MMA deals, wasn't he? For like television deals for MMA? Is this going to be the lockbox that we never got a payoff for?
To have an adulation that long and that loud.
Yeah, they went nuts when he returned. It was a good moment.
Something you love.
Yeah, but you should have stepped away before you won that tournament in Saudi Arabia. What are you doing?
I'll tell you where and when and who. So, what about it, Shane-O? Huh? Everybody's happy to see Shane on that.
Yeah, that's right. It led to him versus The Undertaker, which was fucking dumb.
It seemed like Shane was always trying to prove something to his dad all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I've always just tried to do a little bit extra, in the ring.
This looks bad for Kurt Angle.
One time I had a match with Kurt Angle. It was more of a hardcore match. Kurt was famous, being an Olympian, for suplexes.
This is absolutely ridiculous. You hear it. You hear his skull hit the fucking concrete.
I felt for Shane that night. He took it like a champ.
He knew that was something that was his.
I do some
I'm sure he went and
things.
got some professional stunt training, though. He's probably quite accomplished at it, to be honest.
My dad, he never said it to me, and that's okay. But I've always been proud of Shane for what he's done, what he attempts to do.
What the fuck does that mean? What do you mean, what he attempts to do? Are you kayfabing me, Vince, because he lost to The Undertaker at WrestleMania?
I got a hug that night. Yeah, I got a hug that night. It was a very emotional...
Is that not a common thing? Shane, can you count on one hand the number of hugs that Vince has given you off screen?
I got a pat on the back and a hug. Yeah.
God, that's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
Those are hard to come by.
Very. Had to earn that one. Guess I did.
Oh my God, that is absolutely heartbreaking.
I mean, I'd honestly take a bullet for that man.
All the stars in WWE are desperate for Vince's approval.
No, they're not. They're desperate for the approval of the person that makes a decision that alters the trajectory of their career. They don't give a fuck about what Vince McMahon, the individual, thinks. That's my opinion anyway.
I think as far as succession, you don't rule out Shane or Stephanie, obviously. But it was my understanding that Hunter was supposed to be the individual.
Are you supposed to be saying this, Shawn Michaels?
Do I ever see myself retiring? No, I don't see myself ever retiring.
Yeah, he's gonna die doing that job. That's what he used to say years ago.
What are you gonna do when you retire?
Enjoy life and enjoy the world, dude.
Because he loves it. It's not work to him.
I can't believe McMahon and Austin are toasting at WrestleMania. They finally... Oh, too soon!
Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, that never gets easier to watch.
What I think it would take for Vince to retire, a nuclear bomb exploded.
Oh. Well, funny you should say that, Book.
Who he allegedly had an affair with, $3 million to keep
He didn't quite pay the whole $3 million though, did he?
In front of the cameras, he's expected to be on SmackDown later on tonight. Jake? Of course he is.
Yeah, this was weird. This was very, very odd.
When the first story came out, they announced Vince will be on the air.
Welcome to SmackDown!
Yeah, and he said nothing. He said that, and that was it. I bet he did.
When we published the first article, one of the reactions from some quarters was, well, what did you expect?
And doesn't that tell you something?
What complicates that is that this was this intentional blurring of fictional and non-fictional.
You're hired, Stacey!
Yeah, you know what? That is the best way to put it. Intentional blurring of fiction and non-fiction. Basically, getting your jollies, but making the company pay for it, in simple terms.
There was a woman who worked at a tanning salon, and she alleged that Vince McMahon had shown her naked photos of himself, and...
Okay, yeah, I remember this. 06 was it? Damn.
Weeks later, Vince created a storyline where somebody's just absolutely making up all of these things.
No. Wow. Wow. Holy shit. I remember that Mickie James storyline, but I didn't hear about the tanning salon lady until years and years later. It didn't really make the news because it didn't really go that far. It wasn't until all the other depraved shit started coming up that people were looking back on this kind of stuff. But yeah, that's no coincidence that storyline went up. What, a couple of weeks later they said? If that's not an abuse of power, I don't know what is.
So Stephanie McMahon opens the show.
Earlier tonight,
oh, this was rough seeing her do this.
retired from WWE.
This has to be conflicting feelings.
Thank you, Vince.
It is cringing.
Chaos. In a sense that, what does WWE look like without Vince?
NXT. It's a good thing.
Do you think the business can survive without him?
Without Vince, I don't think it will.
Oh, shut up. You're an idiot. Terry, no! Why do you keep saying this dumb shit?
I think we'd be more interested to see him come back. I think we'd be much more entertained by that.
She speaks an unpleasant truth. More unpleasant than Byron Saxton's suit.
Do you see Vince coming back?
I would say yes.
Oh yeah, of course. He came back like right after.
Stephanie McMahon has resigned as co-CEO of WWE.
Yeah, can we find out what the fuck that was all about?
What was your reaction when Vince returned?
I was surprised that people were surprised.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised at all when he came back. I didn't think it'd be that quick, but the company's board, which at the time featured Stephanie and Triple H, voted unanimously against his return. And then he fired a bunch of people, brought in a bunch of other people, and re-voted or something. Oh, it's stupid. It's so obvious what his plan was.
That I have decided to return to my leave and take it one step further.
Tell him all about it, Pacini.
But he was talked into quitting. And he said that it was by somebody close to him.
Ooh.
So, you can draw a conclusion from that.
I honestly never put that together.
That Stephanie didn't want anything to do with the company if Vince was going to be involved.
Yeah, I got that from it as well.
I have absolutely no idea what happened with Stephanie leaving the company.
Yeah, fuck off, Bruce.
Dave Meltzer or Shoemaker or whoever else wants to make up their lies and their assumptions. They don't know.
Ugh, I hate Bruce Pritchard. He sucks.
He's not just overseeing one company, he's overseeing another company.
No, he's not. He's... I don't think you know how this works, Bruce.
This company's been in your family for 70 years. Is it a tough day?
Oh, Vincenzo! I've waited for this for 6 episodes.
It's not about a family legacy. It's about who is best qualified.
Yeah, now it is. It hasn't been like that for the last 20 years, though. By the way, are we just going to brush over the fact that he disappeared out of the spotlight, bleached his hair black, grew a Gomez Adams moustache, and then reappeared like nobody thought it was the same guy? Because it really felt like that's what was going on.
World Wrestling Entertainment agreeing to a $5 billion 10-year deal to take its signature weekly wrestling show, Raw, to Netflix.
I don't think that's going to have any impact on Australia and how we consume Monday Night Raw. I don't think it's coming to Netflix here.
I thought it was a gotcha piece. I thought it was portrayed as a gotcha piece. And it was all about how can we make Vince look bad?
Wow. This is why I hate Bruce. I mean, of all the people that you're going to leap to the defense of, Vince, I guess, Vince is his meal ticket. When Bruce is working for Vince McMahon, his life is much better off. And right now, that's all I'm getting from this. Are you really going to sit there and say that there isn't a story to be told here about somebody that has mistreated people throughout most of his professional career? Come on, man.
I'm close to it. You know, I live it. And it's personal.
And you benefit from it, and you get paid from it.
When my wife got cancer...
Yes, Vince paid for it, blah, blah, blah. We all know.
My wife was given a 4-year life.
He's not God. Fucking hell, Bruce.
It was, see what an asshole Vince McMahon is. Let's see how big of an asshole we can make him.
If they were trying to make him look like as big of an asshole as they could, it would be way worse than this. Way worse.
If he were one, I would support that. But he's not.
All right, Bruce, whatever you reckon, mate.
I did not get the sense from people at WWE that they knew the lawsuit was coming.
Grant says in this lawsuit is that it was not a consensual affair.
Psychological torture and physical violence would leave her feeling helpless, isolated, and trapped. Yeah, because you can do that to somebody when you've got power over them financially, professionally. That's what people seem to not understand is the problem.
Honestly, I didn't think that there was anything that could be in there that would shock me, and I was floored. I mean, just absolutely stunned.
Grant's claims include sexual acts involving defecation.
Ugh, God, that's revolting.
Grant alleges that he assaulted her with sex toys named after male wrestlers.
That's... Keep your dick-related activities and your job separate, Vince. Stop naming your dildos after wrestlers. Stop fucking your employees. That's all you have to do. You stop doing those two things, then none of this shit probably happens. Oh my God, I have not seen this here. Really? How old is he? It sounds like what a 20-year-old dude says. I paused to count out loud how many guys were there. 12. Okay. The guys cheered. He's a real storyteller, isn't he? So who the fuck are the tech crew that he was talking to right here? Maybe these guys were having a blast with me. What is this? Absolute... This is... Oh, God, this is... I don't even want to finish this, but... he mansplains in the middle of this thing. These techs, as we call them, were having the time of their lives listening to my truthful story. Nothing screams truth like saying truth. I drove them wild. He is so... in the closet bisexual, isn't he? Oh my God. He was at a Diddy party. I guarantee it, he's been to a Diddy party and he loved it. He probably went to one a month before all this happened and came out all excited. Here's what Blank said after I told him that part of the deal. He said, the deal was fucking you. LOL, that's your turf. She'll be ruined after me and leave your ass. Plus, after me, your tool won't fit anymore. Okay, I think I know who that might be.
Including an unnamed wrestler who the company was trying to re-sign in 2021.
Is he a former UFC champion by any chance?
After the star agreed to a new contract, McMahon told her that sex acts with her were part of the deal.
And that's how it's trafficking. Brock Lesnar's a very odd dude as well. Don't get me wrong, he, like, from a physical standpoint, like his agility, his strength, and pro wrestling ability and fighting ability, blah, 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 blah. Amazing. He's a one-of-a-kind sort of dude. As an individual, as a human being, and how he treats people and shit like that, he has never, ever struck me as a decent guy. So the fact that he's implied in all of this stuff here doesn't surprise me one bit.
WWE founder Vince McMahon has resigned as executive chairman of the wrestling company's parent organization.
McMahon has denied the allegations, but says he's now resigning, quote, out of respect for the WWE universe.
Yeah, or out of absolute terror.
After the Janelle Grant accusations, you start hearing rumors and accusations from a variety of sources.
Oh God, this is absolutely horrifying.
Claimed that she had been during a WWE tour of Kuwait by a man posing as a military doctor.
That's an absolutely heartbreaking story.
Covered it up to protect the business.
Yeah, so that would have been in 2005, I think. Maybe it was 2006. Either way, very shortly around that time, that incident happened with the lady at the tanning salon as well. It just goes to show you how tone deaf and unempathetic Vince McMahon is.
You're suspended indefinitely.
That is really fucking uncomfortable to watch.
One of the most powerful things for WWE is that they have been able to keep going without Vince, and they've been thriving without Vince.
Yeah, because true wrestling fans have been waiting for this moment for decades. As soon as Vince is on the outs, people that haven't watched wrestling in a long time are suddenly like, well, maybe I'll give it a look.
Just destroyed records for Gates. This was legitimately the biggest WrestleMania of all time.
And we did it without Vince, and we're all fucking happy. So let's forget about this asshole and move on with our lives.
Last question. What do you think Vince's legacy will be?
Oof, that's a hard one.
I don't know. He
can't even figure out how to word it.
That's a tough one, huh?
Man, what do I think Vince McMahon's legacy is going to be?
You know what's really weird? What is Vince McMahon's legacy going to be? Ruthless aggression in both positive and negative ways. He was ruthless about taking WWE to the heights that it was, and he just has a ruthless and aggressive nature in real life off screen as well, which is as big a part of his legacy, if not more, than anything he accomplished in the business world. It's like three parts of the puzzle. There's like what he did on screen, what he did off screen wrestling related, and then what he's done off screen in his personal life. And they're all significant slices of that pie.
Ooh, I think I might be the wrong guy to ask that question.
Tell us, Tony. What is it?
Greatest promoter of all time.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is true, but I don't know if that's going to be his legacy.
There's a lot of positive, and there's a lot of negative.
Exactly.
And at the same time, he is an incredibly problematic, potentially like deplorable human being.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Egomaniac, physical culturist, someone who needs to be challenged every day, sexually active, psychologically challenged.
I mean, this is a pretty spot-on description, if I'm being honest.
He started believing his own character. The individual loses all sense of who they really are personally. They become the character. My name is...
Yeah, that happened a lot in the 80s.
I guess maybe it's a blend. And I would suggest that one is exaggerated a little bit.
Yeah, but 2 episodes ago, you were like, oh, there's no comparison. You're so full of shit. Vince McMahon is currently under federal investigation and related to that, and he's under... and Janelle Grant is a completely separate thing. Brock Lesnar has not publicly commented on his involvement in the allegations. Yeah, because he's sitting off in Canada by himself, ignoring the world, because that's normal behavior. Okay, so that is the McMahon documentary, and yeah, that was pretty scathing. That final episode was very scathing. I respect them for putting Bruce Pritchard on there, defending Vince McMahon, when he clearly doesn't realize that that's a really bad look for him, and it just makes him look like he's a... You know, I wanted to talk about the wrestlers being overly loyal, which is what Bruce Pritchard made me like think of this train of thought. Bruce Pritchard was the perfect example of that. He was so defensive of him. Oh, you don't understand, da-da-da-da-da. Undertaker definitely feels like he owes so much to Vince McMahon. And maybe he does, but honestly, I feel like Undertaker earned a lot of what he got over the years, and earning something is not the same as being given something. Vince wasn't out there just paying people for nothing back in the day. He had to get his hand forced to start offering those kind of deals. So I still think there's this weird worship for Vince McMahon among the older wrestlers. But his legacy, that's a very, very interesting question to ask at this point. And yeah, I think he's going to have 3 legacies. I think he's going to be the biggest skis that ever was in power in a pro wrestling promotion, which is saying a lot. He's also going to be looked at as one of the greatest promoters and, you know, the person who grew pro wrestling from grassroots to international stardom. And he's also going to be looked at as one of the greatest on-screen characters of all time, while simultaneously being one of the worst on-screen characters of all time, so that one's a little bit blurry. This was an interesting watch. I really hope you enjoyed it. I guess we just sit and wait now, see what the Fed's investigation over Vince is going to come up with, and then they get back to business with the Janelle Grant situation. I'm not going to comment on that because I don't know enough about it, and I'm not going to try and speculate on what's happening with that. I think it's a little bit irresponsible of people to speculate, oh, well, Janelle Grant said this, and they meant that, and that means blah, 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 and this and that. I don't think that does anybody any good, so I want to hear the facts. I don't think I'll ever do another video talking about that because it's not the kind of subject matter that I usually cover on this channel, and I usually don't cover wrestling, but this was a great excuse to just watch this iconic, historic documentary that's come out at a very, very interesting time and share it with you. I hope you enjoyed my wrestling knowledge throughout these 6 episodes. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, because at the moment I'm watching What We Do in the Shadows, I'm doing Ghosts, I'm doing Taskmaster, I just did a month of horror, I do movies every week, plenty of stuff to watch on the channel, so subscribe, make sure you don't miss out, and patreon.com/FWCI is where you can get early access and a whole bunch of other stuff. And as always, everyone, be well, stay safe, look after your friends, ta-ta, farewell.
This is the bloke who got me on the penis before. What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal? Oh, that's a nice headlock, sir.
That's right. The stranger who walks amongst you is
me, Austin! Oh, son of a bitch! It was me all along, Austin!
Righto, you lot. Put down your asbestos. Time to call the roll. Thank you. Zach.
Here.
Mark.
Yes.
19-year-old at her first music festival.
Yes, bitch!
Christian youth worker.
I'm always here. What do you need, brother?
Overly confident man who chose to wear a grey shirt on a hot day.
Here.
Bad Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonator.
Yeehaw!
1960s camp villain.
Yes.
My dad. Man not dead, just pretending. Southern Belle.
Of course, I'm here. I've never been late to any appointment.
Charles Dickens villain.
Oh, yes, I'm here. And hold on to your handkerchiefs, cause me ugly bugly boys are coming after you.
Yes, very good then. Man who can't stop vomiting black stuff.
Yes, I'm here, Broden.
Well, yeah, thank God we didn't have to see that, I tell you. Well, what an awful thing to see. But we're here to learn, so we'll move on.
Oh, Jesus.
The resurrection of a damned soul.
Fuck the king. Fuck the king.
The torment of a troubled past. Born of the same blood. 2 brothers. Now the story must be told.
Springfield cops are on the take, but what do you expect for the money we make? Whether in a car or on a horse, we don't mind using excessive force. Bad cops, bad cops. Bad cops, bad cops.
Everything's a drum, everything's a drum. When you drum on things, you can have a ball. Anything can be a drum, heck, even a wall.
I told you.
Won't stop even when my hair turns gray. I'm tuned to stay. Won't stop until they
fuck on me.
Now count it 5, 10, yeah, 15, 20, 25, 30, yeah, get the money.
This weekend on Weasel.
Will you look at the size of that thing,
ladies and gentlemen.
There's the real world, and then there's ours.
My God! Thunder Beast is out of the ring, and he stabbed Dr. Diabolo with his Cyclops Serpent. That's a triple roundhouse Hail Joseph grapple smash. You don't see that very often.
There are gods, and there is man, and one must fight for the Intergalactic Wrestling title this weekend.
You can't run, Hammerfest! When I stick your head between my legs and pile drive you up and down repeatedly, then you'll know what kind of man I am.
And I'm a man who loves to play with boys. Shut up!
It's entirely believable sports action. Grown men fighting in leotards with their bare hands and thighs. This is manly, not homoerotic. See as Thunder Beast fights the primordial force of Brontosaurus Rex, the wrestling caveman that drags his woman around the ring by her hair. The wrestling match that the world has been waiting for. And watch the group wrestling match that has some saying we've gone too far. 6 men, 1 ring, no way out but down. Watch the epic battle and wonder at all human culture. Sunday night on Weasel TV.
Dad, why did you bring me to a gay steel mill?
I don't know.
Hot stuff coming through.
It's been a long road to recovery, and we're certainly glad to see you back.
Yep. Probably the hardest match I ever had in my life. But I don't like it when things aren't going my way.
What a great show of respect here in Chicago. This is where these guys started, where they cut their teeth, the way they became the men they are today. What?
Oh my God! What the?
What are you? Tommaso, what are you?
Hold number 7.
My holds flew in the air. I was like, my holds!
My holds! Give me my holds!
You're really interested in city walks, aren't you?
Oh, rather.
Well, take a look at this then.
Gathers with members of the team in the war room to hear a highly anticipated report on the possible silver ring found 1 day ago in the swamp. Joining them via video conference is Charles Luton Brain, a professor at the Alberta College of Art and Design, who has more than 30 years of experience as a professional gemologist and master goldsmith. Having examined detailed photographs taken of the ring, Luton Brain has been able to determine not only when the object was made, but also its possible origins.
I found thousands of rings. Gold, silver, bronze, copper. And this ring's got me stumped. So I'm hoping you've got some good news for us. I'm hoping this is kind of old.
Well, it's definitely kind of old. I think we could start with that. The repair is crude. And because of the way it was done, it looks like somebody needed it done pretty quickly. And I think there are 2 repairs. I think there was one repair to make the ring a lot bigger, and a second repair to make the ring a little smaller.
I wanted mint canvas, mint ropes, mint figures, mint turnbuckle. I don't want a hole in the canvas.
That never happened, did it, Vince?
Because she services my penis, and my penis only!
Then stop!
My penis became so powerful, a donkey wanted to root me. So I rooted it. I rooted the donkey!
Okay, Dad, oh my God!
Chest high, feet apart, head up, and strut. No chance, so that's what you got. Oh, here it is.
War Games! War Games!
like talent, eh? Well, have all the talent in the world!
More.
I don't understand it. TNA went bad in 15 minutes. You can get it chopping. Or you can get it watching. You can get it carrying a log. A hard-earned thirst needs a big cold beer. And the best cold beer is Von. Von Bitter. You can get it jumping. You can get it thumping. You can get it any old how. Matter of fact, I've got it now. Von Bitter.